Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Real Hazardous. Today we're going to show you how to tie a wax thread loop onto your line for your trolling rod and reel. It's a really good tactic to use when you're high-speed trolling, or if you're running tag lines or heavier things where the clips from an outrigger wouldn't necessarily work. If you need a loop so you can put a rubber band in, then this is a good video for you. I use it a lot for high-speed trolling. Works really well. I mean, it's pretty valuable if you're going to be fishing for Wahoo. This technique's pretty good. We're going to tie it on a Wahoo trolling reel. It's a pin 70 with 130-pound hollow core braid, but you could also do this on mono. Same knots. I just don't get it quite as tight or use as many knots on mono because mono has a little better grip than this braid does, and it's thicker and things like that. But pretty easy principle to use. I've used it on mono, 60, 80-pound mono, and then this hollow core braid, 130-pound. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do, I've got braid. We're going to show you how to tie a floss wax loop on braid and mono. I'm going to start with braid. So first thing I got to do is I want to measure out where I'm going to put, the mark at. Now I have a line counter that I can clip on. And that works good for mono, but the braid is just the material. The line counter doesn't track it like it's supposed to. It just slips. So for braid, I have to kind of manually figure it out. So I'll have this. This is my Cuban yo-yo. It's great for putting the line on when I pull it off. And what I'm going to do is I know how big my wingspan is. So every 2 of these is 11 feet. So then what I do is I'll just start this on the yo-yo. I'll just start wrapping it. Okay, that's 11. Okay, so that is about 80 feet right here. And this is where I want to put my mark. This is going to be my close-up high-speed rolling or trolling rod. This method's fine. If you measure out the distance between your arms, you can pull it out that way. This keeps it organized. As long as you do it the same. Obviously, if you're doing so many of your hands and then someone else comes and does theirs, it could be off. So I just have one person mark it all the way. You can rig up all kinds of contraptions just to measure out the distance. So we got that. Now it's time to tie the loop. So what I'm going to do is I got this it's wax thread or wax floss, whatever you want to call it, 70-pound. This floss has got this wax on it. I got it at Strike Zone. You can get it at most fishing stores. And I'll put a link in the description so you can find it. So I'm going to take a piece about 3 feet, 2.5 feet long. It's probably overkill, but this stuff lasts forever. Seems like I've had this spool for 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8 years now, maybe longer. Okay, so first step is I like to do this little knot right here. We'll look up what it's actually called. But basically, you just kind of make a loop along the line, and you're going to go through this loop you made about 4 or 5 times. This is just to start it off. So let's tighten this knot. I'm holding the line tight right here, between my leg and the rod's tight. This gives me good stuff to work with. There we go. That's your first knot. I'm gonna work this way, is that okay? Okay. So this is good. I got it really tight. I put some pressure on it while keeping this taut. While keeping it taut. It's a little tater taut. Okay. Now, the next part is just a lot of tying the old simple square knot. You're just going over it. Loop knot. I think it's a square knot. That's all it is. Going, okay, loop, coming through this big hole and tightening it up. And we're doing this a bunch of times, and this is gonna give it more to grip on, because if you would pull really hard, this is gonna slide. We don't want that. I'm just giving it a good tight knot. Put enough of these knots and it's not gonna slide on you when it's in the rubber band or planer or tagline release, however you plan to use it. I feel like you gotta do plenty of these on braid because it'll slide a little easier on braid, I guess because it's thinner than it will on like mono. So this is 20 knots. If I pull. So I can't move this. This is good. This is strong. 20 knots. It's about an inch long. Okay, so that's the first part. Now we need our actual loop. So you can do this a couple ways. I've seen it where it's done like this, which is easy to put your rubber band through or your clip, whatever you're doing. But I've always done mine more flush like this. You gotta kind of pull it apart, you know, with your fingers. But this, for me, I like it because it winds onto your rod easier. I'm just concerned that a big thing like this could get tangled up in the tip or in the roller guides or something like that. So I do mine, you know, pretty flush. And I haven't had an issue with it, and it works just fine. So this is good, and it's about 2 inches. You can do whatever you want roughly, it's probably typical. I'm gonna start this bad boy off with our good old knot that we started the last one off with. You make this loop. You go through this hole about 4 times. And you pull it tight. And remember, when you pull this one tight, it's gonna give you some extra length. So there'll be plenty to work with. If you want it not so tight, just slide it down a little bit. This gives you a little bit of play. You can kind of play with it, you got a little freedom. So this will be plenty, but I can move this if need to, if I want to loosen it or tighten it. When I'm happy with where it's at, I'm gonna just pick back up with these overhand knots, square knots, whatever you want to call them. Get these good and tight. Now you could just do all square knots, the whole thing through. You don't have to do that first knot I did. I've done it both ways. Sometimes I get a little jerk just to make sure it's getting tight enough. With mono, I don't pull as tight. I don't want to cut the mono or hurt the mono too bad, but braided is a little tougher in that regards. And it's thinner, so it's more important to get it tight. There's less grip on braid, it seems like. So I pull a little tighter on braid than I do mono. Okay, so I can't get that to move. I give it a good pull, see if I can slide it. It's pretty solid. It's about 25 knots after that main knot, or you could do it by distance. This is probably 1.5 inches, 1 3/4. You know, you can just, whatever you feel comfortable with, but pretty simple. So I'm just gonna trim it pretty flush. From this point, if I was fishing, I would take a rubber band. I've got a little bit of space here. And you would just take your rubber band and you put it through it. And then you come back through the loop in the rubber band like this. And it would pull tight. And I put this on the main line itself. And this loop keeps it from sliding. You know, if you're pulling this way, it'll lock it like that. And it won't, this loop will keep it, even if it tried to jump over this, it'll hold it in place, see? And this will go if you're doing a planer, an outrigger, tag line, you would use this. You can use a heavier rubber band, or if you need to, you could wrap it around a couple times. You know, if it's a heavier thing, you can still just do it like that and clip it. Doubles your strength. A couple ways you can do it. There it is, guys. We finished the floss loop. It's tied on here. You can see I got a little loop, not too big. You can adjust this however you want. Got my knots, so this won't slide. I'm going to use this particular rod, probably either to clip it down low when I'm high-speed trolling, or to put it in on a planer when I'm high-speed trolling. But you can use the same thing if you were running, you know, high-speed lures from a tag line, or, you know, heavy-duty marlin fishing on a tag line, something like that. You can do this process on mono and braid. I just think it takes a little more on braid. You gotta be a little tighter with the knots. Mono, you don't have to do as bad. It has a little better grip. If you guys got any questions about how I did this, then comment below. Gear is pretty simple, just this floss wax loop, wax thread. That's what they call it, floss loop, something like that. And some shears to cut it with. So pretty simple. If you want a line counter, if you want a Cuban yo-yo to roll up your line when you pull it out, you can use that as well. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.